Should you pause contributions to your 401k to pay down high interest debt like a credit card, or like this person, take a loan against your 401k to pay off a credit card? People in my comment section are split down the middle. Some say that yes, you can and should because it makes them feel better. And then you have others that say absolutely not. That's one of the worst moves that you can ever make. First, let me explain what exactly is happening here, and then I'm going to show you the math to guide you on what is probably the best answer here, especially if you are getting a match within your 401k. Let's say you have your favorite food. I'm someone who has a little bit of, let's say, a sweet tooth. I love Bluebell vanilla ice cream. And it's something that we know we're not supposed to eat. We're not supposed to eat a whole bunch of sweets. And thankfully, I don't indulge too often. But the thing is this, you know you're not supposed to do it, but a lot of us do it anyway, even though it goes against your own interest. That is what it is like to stop contributing to your 401k, or even worse, borrow against your 401k to pay down debt. Psychologically, it feels better to pay down debt. Why is that the case? Well, because debt is essentially a guarantee. You know for a fact that you can schedule down to the month. If I pay this amount, I know exactly what the interest is. It is going to be gone by this time. And that's not always the case with investing, because past performance does not guarantee future results. The stock market has averaged around 7, maybe 8%. I don't know if it's going to do that in the future. I don't know where the stock market is going to be by the end of the year. And what I'm doing is putting money into the stock market and hoping that the past result is somewhat similar, that in 20 or 30 years, it is going to get me to what I need to retire. But paying off debt, I feel a pressure lifted off of my shoulders, and I can guarantee that it is going to be gone no matter what. So that is why so many people, despite all the math, are going to say, well, yeah, I know that the debt is going to be gone. I won't have the pressure and have those bills. Just like the ice cream, I'm going to do it anyway because it feels better. But what does it actually cost you? And in the case of ice cream, what is it going to cost you in terms of the scale that you are going to see and the pounds that you are going to gain? I'm going to show you a quick whiteboard explanation, because if you told me a bowl of ice cream was going to force me to gain 5 pounds on a scale, yeah, I probably wouldn't eat it. But I don't actually know that. I don't. You tell me it's not healthy. Okay, right, but you can't show me a tangible example, at least that I know of, that 1 bite equals 1 pound, right? Well, we can do that with math. At least we can project that with math. So I'm gonna get my whiteboard and show you exactly what is going on here and why this is important. All right, so let's just look at a quick example, and I'm going to just call this guy Tom. All right, let's say Tom makes 75K. All right, this is his income, contributes 5% to his 401k, and then he had a 5 match. Okay, so together, this is per year, right? That is $7,500, but basically that's 10%. Okay, so that's how much Tom is putting into the 401k. Now, we're talking about compared to debt. So let's say that Tom has $8,000 credit card debt. And let's say that this is at 19%. All right, so this is what we are comparing it to. All right, you got $8,000 in credit card debt. You got $75,000 or $7,500 in contributions. So what is your option here? Now, as I mentioned, right, somebody like a Dave Ramsey and others, people in the comment section at times, they say, all right, well, just pause this. You can take this money and pay this off and you'll be good. Well, the thing is, if you do that, you don't get the full $7,500 because you don't get this match. And also, a piece of this gets taxed. All right. So what happens in reality is this. So let's break this out. So this is the full total, right? When let's say we pay the debt, we did that in this case. Normally, this is just $625 a month. Okay. Oops. This breaks down to $625, right? $625 a month times 12 equals $7,500. When we break this in half, right? Because if we're only talking about what Tom puts in, because you don't get a match for the money that you are putting in because you're pausing it. So that's money that goes to you. So you're really talking about $3,750, okay? Which breaks down to, that's per year, right? But you're really only getting this because this is pre-tax. That's pre-tax. So after you actually get taxed, that's about what you get. And that's roughly $240 a month. Okay, that's what you get. This is what you are going to be able to pay off. Less than $3,000 here to pay off $8,000. Okay, now the question is, right, so I don't have too much confusion with all these lines. Okay, how long does it take to pay off $8,000, right, with $2,880 at 19%? Okay, we can easily do this and use a debt calculator here. That's going to take us 48 months, and that is more than 3 years, right? Obviously more than 3 years. That's going to be almost 4 years, 3.9 years. So that is 3.9 years. You make that point bigger. 3.9 years to pay it off. Okay? That is one issue. Right? When Dave Ramsey or anybody, I don't want to pick on Dave here. Not today anyway. But when somebody says, hey, pause your 401k to pay off debt, you can do it pretty quickly. Not always, because what you think you're getting, if you were getting the $7,500, okay, well, fine, right? But you're not getting the full $7,500, not in this case, not with this math. But in this case, if it's going to take you 3.9 years, this is 3.9 years that you are not investing. Now we need to compare this with the 401k. And honestly, it can be seen really easily here by looking at two numbers, right? You are essentially comparing $240 a month, which is this, compared to what is basically the equivalent of $625 a month. Which one is going to win? So that's it. Even though, right, I know somebody's going to point this out, it is 19% compared to what the stock market would be at roughly 7 or 8%, right? So that is true, but you are investing a lot more in yourself versus what you are getting at paying back the bank or the credit card company. But the biggest thing here is, you know, at 3.9 years, essentially 4 years, that's going to hurt. So if we were to tease this out, right, 600, let's do this. So $625 a month, I definitely put 24, $625 a month, right, at 7% for 47, was it 47 months? Let's see, debt payment. Yeah, 47 months, which is 3.9 years. 0.9 years. How much does that give us? So we can just go to compound calculator right here, 3.9 years. That's $32,000, right? We can just round here. And just to show you all the stuff, we started at 0, $625 a month, 3.9 years, it is 7%. Okay, now I can play with this annually. It's going to give us a different number, but just to make it super simple here. So 32,000. All right, so I'm basically trading, right? I could have had 32,000, but instead I went for the 8,000. So that's why I don't think it makes I mean, it's not that I don't think the numbers suggest that it doesn't make that much sense, and that there are other alternatives to figuring out how can you split the difference and do both. Because no, paying off, being that much in credit card debt isn't good. I'm not going to advocate for being in credit card debt, but I also don't want to see you or anybody in a situation where you're missing out on $32,000 for yourself, right? So how do we split the difference? That is the biggest thing. But we can't ignore and say, yeah, it's great for you to, for close to 4 years, not invest in your 401k and act like this is the equivalent. Like, yeah, you can catch up and just make up the gap of that much money, and think that this here is going to easily pay off this, right? And there are people who have way more than $8,000. I did a video, and we talked about this before. I did a video of how Dave Ramsey did this exact math incorrectly on air with somebody, right? And people do this in the comments all the time, where they think they're getting the exact same money, whereas it's not actually there. All right, so you saw the math case, but here are my solutions, because there are a lot of people who say, well, okay, fine. Well, what are your solutions if you don't want to pause the 401k? Just stay in debt? No, that is not the solution, because, again, though I disagree with a lot of the Dave Ramseys of the world and perhaps others, it's not to embrace debt or be fine with it. It is nuance. There are other avenues that you can take. So the first one is, in this case, you can try and increase your income. So adding an additional $300 a month, that's it. $300 a month can help you pay off the debt a bit faster. So there are two ways you can do it. Number one, is there an extra hour or two? Are there an extra few hours that you can take at your job that can help pay it off? Is it taking a small side hustle? Maybe it's, Uber Eats or something like that. Are those some things you can do while continuing to invest and keeping that money in the 401k and still paying off debt at the same time? Like, can we do both? Right? Or are there some bills that you can A, negotiate, or B, cut just for the next, year and a half, or however many months, to get that $300 to pay down the debt, right? Can we increase our income, or can we cut some things? And again, we're only looking for $300 a month. That's it. Not super, super drastic changes for most. One example, and I'm just throwing one out there, switching from Verizon to Visible, which is still owned by Verizon, by the way. But, I think my bill was $100 or $150 a month. I switched to Visible and went down to $45. Ta-da, right? Almost $100 in savings, right? You can round it off, right? So that's $100. Now I need, the rest of it. So things like that. Is there a 0% transfer, right? That would save me a ton in interest just for that 1 year. You would need to figure out what you would need to do for the other 18 months or the next year, right? Those are just simple examples. And I'm not saying a 0% transfer is for everybody, right? And there is a lot of fine print in there. So it all depends here on which one of these strategies are going to work for you. Also, I would be more open to reducing the amounts put into the 401k. Instead of putting in 5%, maybe we drop it down to 3%. At least you're still putting in money, you're still contributing, and you're still getting a match while getting just a little bit more money to put towards the credit card debt. All at the same time, right? All at the same time. Again, the key here is nuance. You get to do both of these things at the same time, as opposed to just cutting everything off, being extreme, but also hurting yourself and costing yourself close to $100,000 just to save, $500 or so, right around $400 to $500 at the end of the day. It didn't really make sense when you consider all of the cost, even though we're looking at the emotional side of it. Because at the end of the day, your emotions, they don't do math. If you want to learn more about finance, investing, and everything in between, you want to check out this video right here.